But shall we move on to maybe the biggest name, probably the highest valued player of these three, and that's Domantas Sabonis. And I just want to put out my hypothetical trade here because it's kind of a piss take, but at the same time, I'm being serious about it. And I think both teams should heavily consider it. So my trade is Domantas Sabonis to the Oklahoma City Thunder, right?
Homecoming.
A homecoming. He's played there before. For a 2022 first-round pick via Detroit, a 2022 first-round pick via Phoenix, a 2022 first-rounder via the Clippers, a 24 and 25 first-round pick, and a 26 first-round pick via Houston. That's 6 first-round picks to the Indiana Pacers. And Domantas Sabonis to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Teams up with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey there. No players go, well, you can throw in a bad, mid-tier player with not much value there if you want to Indiana. But at the end of the day, the Thunder have that much salary cap remaining there in the cap that there's no issues money-wise. So that's 6 first-round picks. And if you're the Thunder, you get in Sabonis and you're keeping all... Well, not all, obviously, your first-round picks, but you still got a heap there. They've got like 35 picks over the next 7-8 years. At some point, they're going to have to get rid of some of these picks and some of these first-rounders. And I just think it's an opportunity where you're getting a guy in Sabonis, and you might get him for less than that. And I think his value right now, you could get him for unders. He's still young. He's 25 years of age. I think it'd be a good move for both teams, to be totally honest.
6 first-round picks.
6 first-round picks.
Didn't Harden go for 5 or 6 himself?
Yeah. Well, maybe 6 first-round picks is overs, but my point is that maybe it's 4 first-round picks, but my point is that they've got so many of them that they should look at Sabonis as, okay, well, one, we're going to get better in the short term, but he's also young enough that he can be there in his prime in 3 or 4 years, along with SGA and along with Josh Giddey. And then we've got 3 blokes there already for the next 7-8 years, locked in. And then basically we only have to, they've still got the likes of Lou Dort there. Poku's a young player that's got some talent. They've still got guys there, and they can build around, but they can build around those 3 primarily. I think it works, and I'd be willing to give up an extra 1 or 2 first round picks if I have to get him.
I reckon that is way too many first-round picks. And I reckon you get a better player than Sabonis with that haul of picks. I reckon you get a way better player with that haul of picks.
Who's available?
6 first.
Who's available, and who is also... I think Sabonis, next to Gilgeous-Alexander and Giddey, they'd be so fun to watch. The passing and the playmaking between those 3, I think they'd be fantastic to watch. Now, you do have to get some shooting outside of those 3. But I think that'd be so fun to watch. I think the pick and roll game between Giddey and Sabonis or SGA and Sabonis would be absolutely unreal. And I just think, if it means you have to give up 1 or 2 more, then do it. But maybe you start and say, here's 3 first-round picks. And then you work your way to a number that both teams are happy with. But I just like the idea of it.
I really like the idea, actually. And also, I think you've got to think that... I think that you've got to think as well... Not all first-round picks are created equal. I mean, don't they have a few of the Suns' first-round picks? They're practically second-round picks. So, if 5 first-round picks sounds like a lot, but if 4 of those first-round picks are pick 27, that's
the whole point.
Yeah,
They're gonna. Exactly. I'm saying a 2022 first-rounder from the Suns and the Clippers. We expect both those teams to be good. So. They're going to be 20 to 30 picks, and in the case of the Suns, they're going to be 25 to 30. And then you've got your own 2024 and 25 first-round pick. Well, you'd hope that if you do bring in Sabonis, that by 2024, 2025, maybe you're making the playoffs, and therefore those picks aren't necessarily lottery picks either. So, I don't know. When you're talking about future picks like this, there's always some risk taken on both teams' sides. Obviously trying to work out where a team's going to be or predicting where a team's going to be by that point. So, yeah, but I just like it, and I like the idea of those 3 together moving forward.
Yeah, I still reckon you get a better player with the amount of picks you have.
But there's no what we're it's like. Who are you getting? I've talked about Simmons as a potential because he's obviously available and giving up a few first rounders for him. But I just think him as another primary ball handler next to SGA and Giddey now at this point doesn't work. So who else is available that's better than Sabonis? Or
I reckon
if you're Sam Presti, are you just waiting for a better player to become available?
I'm doing that secondly, but firstly, I'm at that anyone between 6 and 10 teams that have a star. I reckon I'm calling them just to gauge any sort of interest because I'm starting to think the 8th seed is one of the worst positions to be in as an NBA franchise. I'm starting to think that's such a horrible position. If you're consistently making the 8th seed, I'm maybe looking at Portland or something, but I'll be calling any team between 6 and 10 saying, look at how many picks I have available. Let's talk business. I'd be calling teams every single day.
I just think they need, like, you've got SGA and Giddey there. I think if you could pair them with a big man, that would be fantastic. And Domantas Sabonis to me is a top 5 center probably in the league, to be totally honest. And who
Sabonis as a center.
Yeah, well, I think he plays as a power forward for Indiana, but I think he's a center primarily. I think if he goes to the Thunder, he's a center. I don't like him as a power forward. I think modern-day power forwards need to be able to shoot the ball, and when he shoots the ball, it looks hesitant, and it doesn't look good. So, to me, he's a centre. He's a big man. He's a back-to-the-basket big man. So, yes, you technically look at him on the roster, he's a power forward. He's a centre. He is. And he's playing out of position because they've got Miles Turner there as well. That's the whole reason why we've had these two blokes in trade discussions for the last few years, because most people think they can't coexist together. Because Sabonis is a centre.
Players like him and Randall, and I'm very wary of because they can't protect the rim like a centre. But in terms of being an elite outside, every power forward in the league can shoot. Well, you'd want every power forward in the league to be able to shoot. So I think players like him are almost out of position in a way. And I'd be almost careful trading for someone like that. Because look at what's happened to Randall this season. Look what's happened around. I think it's the fact that he's in that awkward position where his short arms can't protect the rim. He's too slow on the perimeter. That's why I was so big on John Collins as well. I was so angry at him because I thought he was the guy that's also in that sort of weird mold where you're not really a 4 and not really a 5. So I'd be very wary of him. I've got a trade proposal that, unless you had anything to say, unless you boys had anything else to say about OKC.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about Sabonis. Yes, he's not a brim protector, but he's an elite rebounder. So he's a centre, and any team he gets traded to, I can guarantee you, he's going to be their starting centre. I just don't think he's a power forward. He is in Indiana, but anyway, go on to your trade proposal. I'm sorry.
All right. So a team I'm very critical of is the Utah Jazz. I think they're a team that do very much the same thing every single season. I think they're on track to have even a better offensive and defensive rating than they had last year, and they were top of the West and the top of the NBA. Beg your pardon. I want Domantas Sabonis to go to the Utah Jazz. I'd have to actually look at, like, obviously, I reckon Utah Jazz, I don't know, I think they've got all their picks anyway, and players like Joe Ingles and Eric Pascal, little pieces, would have to go in to match salaries.
Definitely not playing as a centre there.
But my thought...
Next to Rudy.
My thought process behind this is the easiest way to beat the Utah Jazz in the playoffs is you just go small. And the thing is, he can't putt. I remember that they'd feed him against Nicholas Batum and Marcus Morris, and this is Rudy Gobert's on $200 million, and he can't punish teams when they go small. So my thought process is to put Sabonis in that position come playoffs, to be the guy that can actually punish players and actually punish whether you want to play short bouts at the center position. But when the team does go small, that's your counter punch against him. Because the Clippers put Nicholas Batum at center, and then you have to bench Rudy Gobert. So my thought, Pock, you were saying towards the end, you reckon Rudy Gobert might actually be the starting center for the Utah Jazz in crunch time minutes. You're getting, obviously, someone that is a back-to-the-basket player, and he's incredibly smart skill. They play a high IQ offense. You'd be sacrificing a lot of shooting, mind you, and I'd have to actually do the numbers and everything. But that, I think, because that's your biggest problem come to playoffs anyway. Donovan Mitchell raises his game every single season in the playoffs. For such a young player to be able to keep doing this is quite extraordinary. And then Rudy Gobert is your biggest problem there. So I think if you could fix that front, I think that Sabonis fits in that system and that that's my thought process anyway behind why I think he would fit in there.
You can't have Sabonis and Gobert on the same roster making over $50 million a season. As I said, Sabonis is a center, and the only reason he can play power forward for Indiana is because Miles Turner's next to him. Miles Turner can shoot the ball from 3 and shoot the ball really well from 3. You can't have Sabonis playing the 4 and Gobert playing the 5. I understand what you're saying about playoff basketball, but I just think that you need shooting around Rudy Gobert. You don't need Domantas Sabonis. I mean, they're going to get every rebound in the world, but why do you need almost the two best rebounders in the league on the one team? Like, they're just taking boards off each other then. Like, that's not really helping me, to be totally honest. So, yeah, I don't... And the third thing, and the most important thing, is I just don't think Utah have the assets that Indiana would want. Like, what young players would Indiana want from the Utah Jazz? There's no one there. And their first-round picks are going to be 25 to 30.
But it's more because I think the Utah Jazz, this is their champ. I think they fumbled it last year. I reckon that was their year they were supposed to win, and they completely shut the bed. And I seriously reckon the Utah Jazz are in their window. And I applauded the Bucks for the 3 first-round picks for Drew Holiday, giving him a $160 million contract, just kind of going all in there. And I think Utah Jazz, with the volatility, the 2 LA teams, they're shaky at the moment. I think you really need to go all in as the Utah, because you've got I think this is your only shot, and you're the Utah Jazz. No one's coming to you free agency. It has to be a trade. I'd give up all these picks. I seriously would.
Haywood, thoughts?
I don't get that at all.
You don't get that fit. You don't get that fit at all. You don't get that fit.
If I was to throw a random team out there, just like you've done, because you haven't thought about that at all, I would.
What?
Well, I mean, you didn't have anyone to send back the other way. You're just like,
all the picks. I'll just be sending all that.
All the pick 28s in the world for the next 6 years.
But you still anyway. If I was to throw a random team out there that I think works, and it would be I like Sabonis to the Spurs, even though they have Jakob Poeltl, but I think he fits well in Popovich's system. But again, I don't quite know how you make it work. You probably throw Derek White and a couple of picks at him. I don't know. I think that fits better than at the Jazz personally, but. To each their own.
Yeah.
I think it fixes their biggest problem. I just think it fixes their biggest problem.
All right. Well, I just think they'd be happy to go with Rudy Gay at the 5 in crunch time minutes, and they might have an issue with rebounding, but they're gonna is Sabonis actually guarding a small ball 5 on the other end? Maybe a little bit better than Gobert, but I'm not sure. He's not a great defender, and we've spoken about he doesn't offer the rim protection necessarily. But it's getting a bit heated in here, so how about we move on to Ben?